What's up, everybody? It's JayViper here, and Ubisoft is getting just absolutely decimated. Some information has come out about how much money they have actually been spending making games. These are eye-popping numbers. Skull and Bones numbers are insane. And of course, we know Outlaws didn't sell. We're going to see how bad that is, too. Let's get into it right after you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
JayViper is awesome. He's so good looking. He's got the crowd in awe.
So here's the thing. What is killing Ubisoft? Why are they just bleeding money and it looks like their stock is just plummeting? Well, it's looking like it has a lot to do with this game, Skull and Bones. They spent $650 to $850 million making their quadruple A game. They said it, not me. Quadruple A. This game is absolutely killing Ubisoft. So for those of you who don't recall, like when this game really started showing up, this was announced. And remember, they had a little bit of a working demo here where they showed footage from the game. This was at E3 2017. Now you have to imagine that, okay, that's an age ago in video game years, okay? But you have to imagine it was already in production some then, right? So that's 2017. It releases in 2024. And it didn't look good. Now, when it was announced, this is a game I saw, and I was like, oh man, I want a piece of that because that looks pretty cool. But production woes really hit this one. They kept kind of going back to the drawing board, redoing things, back to the drawing board, redoing things. And when we started seeing more information roll out, a little closer to the beta, we were like, oh, I don't know. So when the beta hit, though, I still jumped on it immediately because I'm like, I need to get my hands on this. I want to see. And I was immediately shocked. I mean, the engine itself and like the way that characters appeared, it looked like they came from like an old Elder Scrolls game. It didn't look right at all. It didn't look quadruple A, that's for sure. And it sure didn't look modern in any way. But you get into the game, you start walking around, you're like, wow, I'm moving weird. This feels clunky and bad. You get in the ship, you're like, this isn't very good. And then you have to go and collect resources, and it's just going up to things, and it's quick time events. Who the hell makes a game like that these days, especially one that costs this much? It was lazy and it was boring and no one really bought this game. And if we just hop on over real quick to SteamDB, you can see that is the case. Now, obviously it's in other places than just Steam, but Steam is, of course, the main place people would get something like this on PC. So we're talking an all-time peak of 2,615. These numbers are just awful. Oh man, this game just, there's really nothing appealing about it, and no one's buying it even when it came over to Steam. So this information comes from Endymion, and this is a conversation he had with some developers from over Ubisoft. So Endymion shared that he was told that the project that ruined Ubisoft was not Outlaws or Shadows, but it was actually Skull and Bones. His sources said they've seen multiple different versions of the game that were each completely different over the years. Now, this is something we actually heard, and I just mentioned, is that this had some serious woes while it was getting made. Like, they had some problems with this game. They were not happy with the way it was coming out. So it was back to the drawing board, and I mean, this number just swells when that happens. It just goes up and up and up. Because you know Ubisoft doesn't run with a small crew. They said they were told that the budget that was spent was in the range of 650 to 850 million over 10 years. And Skull and Bones failed so badly for Ubisoft, it was the actual reason why they're dying the way they are. It's not Outlaws or Shadows, if you can believe it. So they sunk a legendary amount of resources into that game, and it clearly did not work out for them at all. As we just saw, no one's playing this game. No one played this game. But that is insane numbers. Think about that. 850 million. Let's say it's on the high side. That's almost $1 billion to put a game out. I mean, the fact that they're still around now and releasing Outlaws and trying to release Shadows, it just shows you how much money they have, but it's going away pretty quick. The Ubisoft CEO infamously described Skull and Bones as a quadruple A game and attempts to justify the game's price tag of $70, which is why every time I see $70, especially from a Ubisoft game, I always say quadruple A, regardless of what they say, because they said it, not me. They said it, not me. So yeah, an investor actually said, could you maybe unpack for us the decision to price it at $70? You've certainly emphasized that it's designed for a lot of live servers. What drove the decision to make the game pay to play when you could presumably limit the size of player base and thereby PRI in the game? And of course, Guillemot responded, "You will see that Skull and Bones is a fully fledged game. You can see it on the market today. It is a very big game, and we feel that people will really see how vast and complete the game is. It is really full AAA, or quadruple A game that will deliver in the long run." I think he missed the mark, but I think I hit the accent pretty good. So following the game's release, Tom Henderson and Insider Gaming reported the game currently has around 850,000 players total at the time of writing, which includes those who have opted to play the game with the 8-hour free trial provided by Ubisoft. So let's say that's less than 1 million, okay? Let's say they sold 2 million, okay? When you're talking 650 to 850 million dollars, you probably have to clear, man, you're gonna have to clear 12 million units to come close to making your money back, especially if you're putting it on other stores where they're taking percentages. I mean, it may be even more. I'm not even doing the math, but we'll get into why it's pretty high like that. In the same report, Henderson detailed Ubisoft spent around $200 million on the game and doesn't expect to make it back. Now, we know it's a lot more than that. The game was released to Steam August 22nd and only hit a peak. Here we go. Yeah, not good. Really bad. And of course, it just declined from there. So it's estimated the game has sold between 23,600 and 34,100 copies. For comparison, that is around the estimates for Firewalk Studios' Concord, which is around the same. Wow. Now, of course, these are Steam numbers, but these are whoppers of numbers. So what this means is that they moved it to Steam and still saw no one buy it, because once you hit initial release, I mean, you're not going to get a lot of players unless you have really, really improved something. And of course, we all know, what game are they going to move over there soon? Outlaws. They're going to move Outlaws over there in November. And I don't think they're going to see great numbers there either, but at least it's going to be something that we can actually see. So this is another part of why they're sinking. This game has sold 1 million copies. 1 million copies. And some people are saying, hey, does this include it being bundled with NVIDIA cards? Because don't forget, NVIDIA was bundling this with NVIDIA cards. So I don't know if it counts, but if that does count, then that's really bad. Really, really bad. So the expected sales for this was around 5 million for Ubisoft. Now, this was right before release. They lowered it, okay, because they thought it was going to be 7 to 8 million. They lowered their expectations going into release to 5. They knew the internet was right, which means that they absolutely do listen to customers, but do they listen enough to actually change things? No, they just release and release a face like this that everyone knew was going to fail except them, I guess. Insider Gaming says we've secured a current sales figure from a source close to the game. At the time of writing, it ticked just over 1 million sales worldwide. Now, I do want to say I don't think this includes bundles. I don't think it does. Okay, but it might. But let's just say it doesn't. It doesn't matter. That's horrible. So the expected expense that Outlaws is between 250 and 300 million. Now, we see this number, but we also saw that number for Skull and Bones way back when, which was quite a bit low compared to the 650, 850 that we're seeing now. I would expect that Star Wars costs at the high end of that, probably closer to 300 million. Now, in order for Star Wars Outlaws to make that, it needs to clear 5.5 million units. That means it's 4.5 million units short of even coming close to breaking even. So Ubisoft is just bleeding out right now. And with Shadows being pushed to February, and I believe it's going to be pushed much further than February, I don't see how you fix all these problems in just a few months. There's no way. I don't see it coming in February. We might see it this time next year. And even with Shadows release, I don't know if it's going to do all that great unless they make some major changes, and I just don't really see it. They might clean up some bugs and some issues and change the story around a little bit, but I don't think they're going to change the big issues there because Japan's still not happy. And there's nothing Ubisoft can really do short of changing out the main character. And could you imagine if they actually did that? There's no freaking way they're going to do that. It's going to be Yasuke. It's going to be him, and Japan's just going to stay mad, and no one's going to buy that game. I say no one, but people will buy it, but it's not going to be good. It's going to be like Outlaws, maybe a little more, maybe 2 million. It still will fail. So I also want to bring up pre-orders, okay? Now, a big thing that we keep hearing is that the pre-orders are very low. We'll point it out, and people will push back, and they'll say, oh, yeah, but it's a digital age, and it doesn't matter, and everything's fine. You can't look at those numbers. We can, and we now know for sure, again, that we can. So Shadows, we heard pre-sales across everywhere was about 7% of Valhalla. That is a huge drop-off. That's an alarming number. And we know that Star Wars Outlaws was low, and it didn't do very well at all. So I really feel like YouTubers, journalists, etc. should really start paying more attention to these numbers because they do matter. They do translate, absolutely. So like, for example, Dragon Age is coming out. We know that that's averaging about 1 pre-order per GameStop. These are frightening numbers. That game's going to fail 100%, and we're going to see it. We're going to see it because it's releasing on Steam. Anyway, that's what I've got for today. Do me a huge favor. Please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so I can see you in the next one. Love you, mean, and peace. Bye, everybody.
He's owning every game.